Hello and welcome students to FHS's English digital class for Standard 7. This is your English teacher Swarnali Roy, and today we are going to start a poem titled Habits. It is written by Carol Beachy Wenger. Now let's try to understand what the poem is all about. This poem is actually based on the proverb that is, habits die hard, which means that once you cultivate a habit within yourself, it is very hard to get rid of, be it good habit or a bad habit. The poet has used beautiful comparisons to explain the theme, like a healthy growing weed or plant. In this poem, a healthy growing weed has been used for bad habits and plant has been used for good habits. The poet has compared to how habits can quickly set in, and once they keep you in their vice-like grip, that means strong hold, it is difficult to get out of it. The poet then emphasizes the way good habits take time to grow but stay all throughout our lives. That means good habits take time to grow and we take time to cultivate them, but once it is done, it stays throughout our lives and helps us in achieving what we want and contributes positively towards our lives. The moral of this poem is to stay alert and pluck away bad habits before they grow like weed and threaten your good habits. Therefore, it advises us to do away with bad habits and inculcate good habits within us. Moving on to poetic devices used in habits by Carol Beachy Wenger. As we all know and can see very clearly, the rhyme scheme of the poem is AABBCC. The poem is replete with similes and metaphors, which means the poem is filled with similes and metaphors. Now, what is the prime difference between similes and metaphors? Both similes and metaphors are used for comparisons, but the difference between them is that when we use a simile, we use the words like and as to compare, whereas when we use a metaphor, we directly say that one thing is similar to the other thing. For example, you can see the diagram where in a simile the example is life is like a camera. In metaphor, you can see it is written that life is a game. So you can see the difference here. In simile, we use the words like or as, whereas in metaphor, we directly say that one thing represents the other or one thing is the other thing. Let us now delve deep into the concepts of similes and metaphors. Also, how the poet has used similes and metaphors in accordance to the poem. Students, here you'll be able to see the differences in similes and metaphors as well as how and where the poet has used them in the poem. For example, look at similes first. We can see two lines here that are in the poem and what the poet wants to tell us through them and how similes are used in these lines. The first one is, and keeps him in a vice-like grasp. Here, the poet tells the readers about the firm grip or the stronghold of the habits on all of us. Why is it a simile? Because there is the word like, vice-like grasp. Coming on to the second instance, the line is, much like a healthy growing weed. Now you can already see the same thing here. The word like is present and therefore it is used as a simile. Here the poet shows us through the other words, that a bad habit is like a weed. That means it is difficult to pull out. Moving on to the metaphors, you can again see two lines from the poem and how the poet has used metaphors through these lines. A habit is a sticky thing. Here, we are directly saying that one thing is another thing. So, what is a habit? A habit is a sticky thing. Now, what does the poet mean by this line? Here, the poet expresses that habits are like something that's very sticky. We cannot get rid of them that easily. Another instance is, than any bloom a plant can bear. Here the poet writes about good habits which are compared to a plant in full bloom. Why is it a metaphor? Because the poet was talking about good habits in the earlier line. So here we can see that good habits are directly placed upon or juxtaposed on a plant. That means good habits represent a plant here. Good habits are a plant here. So, since one thing directly represents the other thing, therefore it becomes metaphor. You can also see two diagrams to your right where I have given some of the examples of similes and metaphors as well for your clearer understanding. Thank you all and have a great day ahead.